Hey guys, Ted from Nerdarchy here, for nerds by nerds. With me we have Dave and Ryan, your other Nerdarchists, but today we got a special guest, Mark.
Hello.
So we just ran our first session of 5th edition. So what do you guys think?
Well, you know, actually I think Mark just said something kind of profound before we started rolling the camera. You want to repeat what you had told us?
Absolutely not.
What? Your headlights.
This is a
About the length.
This is a session like from back in the day when we used to run. I mean, we used to go to like 2, 3 in the morning and stumble home bleary-eyed, but you know.
It was like a night of drinking and carousing. Only, instead of
we would game so long I'd wake up with a hangover today.
Yeah, instead of booze and hookers, it was just dice and miniatures.
Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew.
Doesn't really sound that cool when you put it that way.
It was a little something.
Yeah, exactly. But as we've gotten older and changed games and had lives, I mean, several of us have kids in our lives that we have to deal with. So sometimes it's a little bit harder to get those long-standing game nights.
Yeah, you guys are suckers, man. I don't know why you go and do that. Really.
Some of us spawned them, some of us assimilated them, whatever. It happened. But so essentially what we want to talk to you guys about tonight is we just wrapped up our first session, and we've been really liking what we've seen from 5th edition. We actually were able to procure Player's Handbook early. We were fortunate enough to have one of those favored Watts stores locally that we were able to pre-order a copy of the Player's Handbook and have it here for the session at $50 a pop instead of $30.
Amazon 30.
But
it's always good to support your friendly local gaming store. So
right, and thanks to All Things Fun in Berlin, New Jersey for our copy. And but the book, I like it. I like the art. I like how the old school direction it went with it. And I had fun gaming tonight.
Well, I enjoyed it. I had to dust off my DMing or my D&D DMing chops. I hope you guys liked it. I hope if you guys watched the video, you guys like it. Since I read the 5th edition PDF that's been out on the Watt site, I personally have been really excited. I started playing D&D at 2nd edition, and I'm one of those guys that I don't like change. So when we started reading 3rd edition, you guys know as you've been there with me that I put up walls. No.
I have a confession to make. Every single edition of Dungeons and Dragons that's been new, I've drugged these guys into kicking and screaming.
4th edition comes out. No, I don't want to do that shit. And we had a little bit of break at D&D. We've played other games and we've done other things, and you say, okay,
I blame it on 4th edition.
Let's look at let's look at 5th edition, and for the most part, almost everything about 5th, I just get excited about it. There's so much good stuff. They've taken pretty much the best of the earlier editions and put it in there.
I only really have one concern that I'm thinking about going forward.
What's that?
And I really can't wait for the splat books to start hitting. I'm actually excited about that. But it's like, I'm just wondering if the characters are going to feel very same, which was a big problem with 4th edition, I felt. If we have enough options to make the different kinds of characters or not. I don't really think it's going to be an issue, especially early on, but as you make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 characters, what's it going to feel like? What's it going to look like? And that's something we're going to probably have to delve into as we go. But for me, playing, basically a melee frontline wizard who, was able to get in there and mix it up in combat in addition to slinging spells.
And mostly stayed on his feet.
And mostly stayed on my feet, which is nice. And, frankly, I could have stayed on my feet longer. It was just a bad decision.
Tactical error.
Yeah.
Well, you were going for the big move, and
it didn't happen.
You were hoping it would pay off.
You rolled the dice.
The dice know.
The dice know.
Yeah.
So now although I'm not a 4E hater, but that is my least favorite version of D&D. I feel like they put together a solid game. But at the end of the day, the problem that most people had with it, I think, is it really was so different than anything they played. It stopped feeling like Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, what the thing of that it kind of is like, so a role-playing game. Like, feels like some, I mean, depending on your table and everything too, it felt like the emphasis was more on the game than on the role playing. Like,
well,
because
the mechanics took over.
Right, it was very, very mechanical, very, I mean, you know, the complaints level that's like board gamey, but like when there's so much square counting that's contingent to figure out how things go, and I mean, you could be very loose and fast with the rules, but that's like, your group has to like, you know, basically put the emphasis on kind
but you
of
know
not
what?
worrying
It's
about
in
that stuff.
5th edition too. It was in 3rd, but
Well-
I'll tell you what, Watts learned their lesson.
Yeah.
They don't call it swears anymore, right? Like a lot of the spells kind of had that effect. I mean, and it's just the spells. And there's probably some other maneuvers and stuff that other classes get to do the same thing. But what they did was they put it back in terms that their market wants to hear. They don't want to hear about moving 3 squares. They want to hear you knock them back 15 feet,
Right.
you know, or 30 feet, or along those times, which is very savvy on their part, because, you know, sometimes it's just the perception more than anything.
Right.
Now, Mark, which edition did you start playing D&D with?
I started playing Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition.
Okay, so I actually
Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd
Yeah.
edition. That's where I started.
I actually played 1st edition, then we moved into 2nd edition, and then you know,
second, then third.
yes, I've kind of been through them all. So how do you think this compared to your other gaming experiences with D&D?
Well, it's I think it compares favorably. Nothing ever beats your first, you know, experience. Curve. but I mean, this feels more like it did when I first started gaming with you guys again. Because when I started gaming with you guys, I hadn't played 2nd edition in 10, 15 years. Because there was just, I mean...
You didn't have a group.
Yeah, I didn't have a group. I didn't know how to reach out to a group. And as a black man, you don't bring that kind of shit up in public. So, you know, my mom still thinks I worship the devil.
And you don't?
I don't. When people tell her about D&D, like friggin' that friend of ours.
Yeah,
I was ready to punch him in the face because I got a 20-minute lecture. You know, those games can create evil things, and I'm like, Mom.
Which is hilarious, because when we order our meal when we game, Mark prays over his. And he's the only one. You look over and he's like, are you praying?
He met,
Are you praying at the table?
he met my sister at church, and after you know a number of activities,
We were in the choir together.
You know, he says to my sister, you know, well, where's your husband? And
Because I was never anywhere to be found on a Saturday night.
It's like, oh, he's playing D&D. Mark's eyes like, huh? What? So
I had to quick wipe the salivation.
he had to get the hookup, and shortly thereafter he's in our group, and he's been with us for a long time.
Yeah, that's going on like 12 to 14 years, because it was like right after David was born, my son. So it's been a long time. So what I'm hearing is this feels like when you first started playing Advanced. And here's the other thing too, and I've heard it before, but the combats went pretty fast and pretty smooth because we had a lot of combatants involved.
Yeah, when the field of like 30 dudes to fight, like, that was insane.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it went pretty quick. Even in 3rd edition, that fight would have probably taken like 2 hours to resolve or something like that. I don't know I didn't time it out, but it was like maybe an hour tops.
And the other fights were like 15 minutes or less.
Oh yeah, I mean the earlier combats were small. Some of them lasted just a couple of minutes because they were just a couple of rounds. That last battle was long drawn out, but it was designed to be. Most of the combatants were slowly peeling off. You guys watched the video. There were six adventurers, and I stuck 29 commoners and cultists on them. It was a long drawn out battle, but it was meant to. It was meant
Well,
to
there was
feel...
also like a hostage situation going on, so
Right.
that like we were trying to tacticsify things around
Right.
that, and we
So,
probably
I mean,
did that better.
Tactics always slow things down.
If I would have just sat back and mobbed you guys with all of them at once, you would have been
died.
crushed. But it was designed so that you guys they were trying to accomplish something while you guys were trying to stop it. So, that I believe was accomplished through the actual adventure. You guys saw what they were trying to do, and you guys were able to prevent it.
Well,
Mostly.
Not only that though, but the other, if we'd have been mobbed in some ways, that actually worked better for me because I could actually take out waves that way.
Well,
and
yes and no. If you manage to stay up, there's always that random luck of you going down or not too.
Well, depending on initiative and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in the end, that's what caused me to go down was because I was trying to get that big push at a lot of the cultists at once, and I took the shot to send me down. But it was fun. I liked what you did there. There was a lot going on. They had a goal to accomplish, which wasn't actually to stop us, but to complete their ritual. We had a goal to accomplish, which wasn't actually to kill cultists, but
to get
save the prisoners, which we saved most of them.
All right, so
Particular
campaign aside, pros and cons, Fifth. What do you based on what we saw here tonight?
We're still learning the rule set though too.
Well,
so that's going to be a big...
Yes, but we're looking at our first exposure to 5th edition.
Right.
So let's go around the table. Pros and cons. What do you like best? What do you like least?
Honestly, the things that I thought that I was going to like least didn't actually bother me. I don't really like the mechanic of healing up the full at the end of a rest because it takes away from a little bit. But not having a cleric, I must say, it was kind of nice. and getting that extra hit die of healing every couple of days when you're only first level wasn't exactly a bad thing either. And the truth of the matter is, even with that going on, there was some of us that almost died.
Well, yeah, the lethality is definitely up there.
Yeah. I was one death saving throw away from dying, and it literally came down to someone making a medicine check on me, or me having to drop the die
and see
what happens. If I dropped that die and rolled a 9 or lower, that's it. I was toast.
And that would have been sad. I mean, isn't it? I would have been like, all right, well, what's going to happen here? I don't have a 5th level cleric with a revivify ready for you. I don't have a higher level cleric ready to go.
And nor should you, because God damn it, this is Dungeons and Dragons, and sometimes the players die.
That's right. Yeah.
Don't I know that?
Yeah. All right, Mark. Pros and cons. What do you like best? What do you like least?
Well, I don't really have any cons right now. I really just enjoyed the game. I like the combat. I like the new the classes, the way they have it, like the fighter. Then you have the subtypes or martial types or whatever.
Right.
And it brings a different flavors. A fighter's not just a dude with a sword and however much
each class has
armor he can wear. Yeah. So I mean, I like playing melee fighters, but I like being able to affect a mass of enemies all at one time, which is why I like the psionic stuff better so much. But this is good with this guy. I could cut you with my sword, or I could hurl my little ray of frost at you. It was cool. I liked it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And once you pick up your extra attack next level, then you'll get the attacks on 2 dudes. So
I get the attack on 2 dudes, and then 3rd level I get 2 more cantrips, spells, and shit. Oh, come on!
It's exciting.
Bring it on! I'm ready. I'm so ready.
All right, Ryan.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, the main con is really just not having a solid grasp on the rule set. It's just I don't like having mid-session rules questions.
Yeah,
and there's because we only have 1 PHP that literally Dave picked up this afternoon. I haven't even had a chance to read anything about it. I looked at some of the pictures. That's about it.
Yeah, pre-session we're all trying to hoard it. Let me look this up. And of course, for those of you who watched the video, there was a couple, rules questions, everything, kind of pauses. And I like to be the DM that doesn't want to hinge on the rules and just keep the story and the action flowing. But there's times, we were in a life-death situation. It's like, what is the rule? And I'm hemming and hawing. I'm like, all right, let's just go with it. And later on, we realized that was it. So, so what was your best? What did you see?
I liked the way the rogue played out. I definitely... I've always liked the fact that in earlier editions of D&D you kind of had to budget your resources because like it is, especially early levels, it's like an attrition sort of thing that happens, like an economy of actions. Like, you know, my character like is generally like flicking daggers or whatever at people, but the way things work out with being the way being able to draw weapons works, like, you know, I can only really like throw 2 daggers like once every other round to get both of them going. It actually works out more beneficial if I go in and fight people melee, which is not what my character wants to do, but mechanically, so I would say that like mechanically, like there's certain things you kind of have to do to make a certain thing work. So it's like that's pro and con in a way, you know. But I mean, yeah, I like having to deal within constraints. You know? So, well, yeah, you play that pretty well.
For me as the DM, you know, my biggest con is all just the timing. You know, we don't have the full rule set. We don't have all the books, and you know, as much as I am a DM for the player and whatnot, I do have, you know, a little bit of that rules lawyer in me, and I don't know all the rules yet. You know, I haven't spent hours reading the player's handbook, the monster manual, and the DMG, and you know, all of my books aren't here yet. You know, so it's like I want to get the information. I want to know, you know, what are all the options in the monster manual that I could have thrown at you guys. All I had access to when prepping my material was the stuff that was in the starter set.
The basic stuff.
Yeah, I'm down with mods. I'm not a huge fan of them. I'd rather write my material and have to go through, you know, the improv stuff and everything else to be able to present the story that I've got, that I've created, rather than deal with what somebody else has already written. But I'm limited in that frame by what is out there. But thankfully there was enough stuff that was low enough level and fit the theme of what I was doing that I could use, and I kind of tweak things here and tweak things there to be able to use what was there to the best of my advantage. Pros, as you guys have said, I think everything flowed pretty well. The combats were in a reasonable time frame.
Yeah, I was amazed by how quickly they went, really.
And for the most part, it was a smooth game. You know, you had mentioned that the game lasted, you know, pretty long. I was surprised that my material went to, you know, 1:30 at night. So that's my feelings.
Well, all right.
We also had like 5 combats. Like that's unprecedented in one of our sessions.
Yeah, we
did
have quite a few. I mean, I had individual combat. You guys had an individual combat. Yeah, we had quite a few.
Like 5-6 combats. Yeah. So,
and
that's
so
the way it should be.
And well, here's the thing too. What about the 800-pound gorilla in the room? So, no, I'm not talking about you. No, well, here's the thing. All right, we come from 3.5. We come from Pathfinder a little bit. We didn't, you know, we had characters that had 50 million choices to make at first level using 15 different books. Did it work?
For the reductive amount? Yeah. I mean, it really...
Did we feel it? Did you feel, any of you guys felt like you missed something because you didn't have all those little tweaks that we get from a 3.5 game or a Pathfinder game?
I mean, for the most part, it worked. But like, you know, you lose the ability to like, you know, cleave or this or that.
All of you guys made your characters based on 4 classes, 4 races.
Right. Everything from the free PDF.
Do you feel playing those characters in this session that you were robbed of anything?
I don't. I feel completely. I feel more fulfilled than I've felt playing characters that I've had access to tons of books because I made a character I could never make before.
This character is almost on a pedestal for you because you made a dwarven war wizard. Because you made a dwarf soldier wizard. You're running around with an axe, a rod, and medium armor, casting spells without a problem.
And here's the thing, like, so by being a wizard and a dwarf, I'm right there, I'm playing against type, right? And then I took the soldier background to even further alienate me from my class. But it fit the flavors that I wanted. And then, you know, on top of that, my gear was unoptimized because I had to roll for my gold because to get the stuff that I wanted...
Because you needed the armor and you needed the spell book.
Right,
You
like
know?
and for any of you guys that have done the math, Nerdarchy as Ryan has.
Yeah.
You make out much better if you take the gear they give you out of the book than rolling the gold.
Right. I mean, I did like rogue versus rolling for the average rogue, what you could anticipate, and it was a difference of like what 30 gold pieces. I think it was like
40, you said 80 and 120.
Yeah, 80 and 120. So 120 if you take the package thing, like the more expensive stuff out of that gear. And 80 is about the average you can expect to roll as a rogue.
Now, normally I am all about the give and take. You know, I'm not one who's going to nickel and dime my players, but for our first exposure, campaign for 5th edition, we wanted to just play it right out of the book what the rules said. So we healed in full after a long rest. You weren't allowed to swap out stuff out of the kit, the package.
I like that you could heal in full after a long rest because it adds the fantasy into it. This whole thing is fantasy, adventure, whatever. And I mean, if I go outside and get punched in the face by some dude, tomorrow morning I am not going to be at full strength. You know what I mean? So, and I know that. Everyone knows that. But in my game, I don't want that to be the case. That's like, why would I watch a movie based on my life? To me, it would be boring. It's my life, so I want to watch some shit that I know I can't do. Mission Impossible kind of stuff. So, going through the battle and healing after a long rest, awesome. Not having to depend on a cleric.
Because we didn't have
awesome. Yeah, we didn't have one.
We were
I don't really
SOL,
like
man.
them anyway. But
Well, here's another thing that came up too, because your character is a high elf fighter with a criminal background. So he's stealthy, and he has good fighting ability and some magic and some he speaks a lot of languages. But when we were making your character, we came up with the problem of the armor that he could get was actually too good, or the other armor that he could get wasn't good enough. So we actually, I don't even know if we told you what we did, Ted, but we took the better armor and sold it for half price, because that's what it says you can do with good equipment in the book, right? And then he took he took that and his 15 gold from his background and put them together in order to get the chain shirt instead of having chain mail, and it left him with 2 gold pieces and 5 silver pieces.
which is why I was pushing him to pickpockets.
Which you didn't have to push very hard.
I would have shaken my fist had I known that, because that was kind of.
Well, no, you had told him he could sell his stuff for half.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what you told him. I thought, we cheated you.
No, I said you either have to roll your gold or you take the kit.
He did take it. And
he did,
sold it.
and then he sold it for half.
He sold it for crack.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've talked about the things we like. We talked about the things we didn't like. Any impressions that you want to share with our crowd out there?
Yeah, I want Ted to get off his ass and write some more material so we can play again.
Dude, we finished 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, that was 20 minutes ago.
we got another appointment in less than 11 hours to make.
This is August, bro. So September we should be gaming again.
That's right.
Well, that's the plan.
And hopefully the rest of the group can friggin' make it to the game.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
Or by the time they show up, we're going to be all like 5th level, and they'll be level 1.
Well, I can't have that many levels behind, but
They won't be
you
able to survive.
if you didn't make it to this,
They'll be our new red shirts.
Yeah. That's right.
You'd rather have the guards.
We replaced you guys with town's guards.
Yeah.
Because the amount of XP you guys gain, they're halfway to level 2 already.
So I guess that's a wrap for first session,
1.
5th edition. I give it a thumbs up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
So click like, subscribe, leave your comments below of what you think of 5th edition. Check us out on Facebook or nerdarchy.com. And if that's it,
I think that's it.
Until next time,
we'll see you.
stay nerdy.
my friend.